Hi, my name's Elisa, and today I want to talk about indoor gardening. So it's fall, and sometimes we have to bring things indoors to keep them alive, and other times we're just trying to get things started indoors so that they'll be ready for spring. But I wanted to show you my setup so that you could see what it could look like if you don't have a lot of room, or what are all the things that you would need. First of all, as you can see, this is just like a baker's rack, and it holds like kind of various supplies that I don't want to hold other places, junk that ended up here. And then this is my main growing area right here. You can see I've got grow lights. These are full spectrum. And then I've got an area where I kind of have seedlings. I have another set of grow lights here if I want to do that, but this is at the moment needing to be cleaned up because I had done some seedlings. They didn't all work, didn't all propagate the way I needed to. And then as you can see, some stuff just failed in the sprouting. I have more. If you've seen my previous video, I have a little recipe box where I keep my seeds, but I have more seeds and stuff right here. I've got another box of them down there. I have seeds everywhere in this area, but I've got some more supplies. So little potting, when I buy them from the store or when I get them from like anywhere really, I just keep these and I reuse them. Now, whether or not that's good, but I haven't really had any problems with anything spreading. I think I'm pretty good with that, but I've got my rooting powder if I want to try to. I did that with my tomatoes and they were surviving for a while and then I forgot what happened, but more seeds. This is my watering system. I talked about it in a different video. It just, as you can see, I have it watering and they have one like actually laying in the tray so that this can fill up and they can water from the bottom. And then I come in right now and I manually water from the top to give them the extra moisture. But you can see I've got one in each. And I try to keep my plants labeled one way or another and let myself know, like, see how this is, when approximately I planted them. So that's something to keep in mind, because if you have multiple plantings or you plant things at different times, you want to keep track of roughly how old they are if they're ready to go outside. So this back to the watering, it's expandable. So you can possibly see right here, that little end is where I just add on to it as needed. Okay. And then I just have a reservoir for it where I keep water. There's an end with a filter on it and that sits in the water and then it gets pulled up and pumped out to all of my plants. And like I said, if I want to put more on, there's more that I can just connect that I've prepared. It doesn't come that way. It comes all in pieces. The watering system doesn't come all put together. You have to do that. I just measured out about, well, I tried to give it enough room where I could give it some ability to loop and so it doesn't jerk every time the water kicks on. I wanted to make sure there was a little bit extra, so maybe a foot I think is what I was cutting the lengths in between. And then I would connect them all in one straight line together with the branching off to each plant. So, and then each section was a foot. And it doesn't look like it's a foot long, and that's part of why I did that, because it needs some room to be able to, you know, kind of twist up and do all the things that a hose does. So I just wanted to make sure you understood it doesn't come like that. A lot of these that you can see are reuses. I don't necessarily keep buying pots or anything like that. I just keep reusing them. And then when I put them in the ground, make sure I clean them out a little bit and they come right back in here. And that way I'm trying to not produce waste for my planting and everything, right? We're trying to be better stewards of the earth. And part of that is, yes, we need containers and we need some of this stuff, but we can always reuse them. Even some of the soil, as long as I didn't see anything like a mold growing or anything like that, then I will still reuse some of that potting soil if a plant didn't make it. So down to some of these lower levels, you can see it's mostly storage, but it is able, this is a third level now, where I've put grow lights that I could clear this out and I could grow microgreens. That's what these trays are for. I grow microgreens occasionally, but as you can tell, like this tray would not be okay. I would need to really sterilize it. My trusty shovel. And then some different supplies that I use for growing things. So again, you know, this obviously didn't start out as planting anything, but it was a big plastic container, and I don't want to have it and then have it be a one use. So I thought, well, you know, these can be used for planting or mixing potting soil, or in this case, holding water. And then below here are more seeds. As you can see, my microgreen trays, I believe these are the bottoms to the other piece. More supplies. I've got my azonite that I put in. These are coffee grounds that I save, used coffee grounds, and those will go into my compost pile. Or originally I was thinking I would put them into using them to help grow mushrooms. So we'll see where those end up. I think right now they're going to go into compost. But I wanted to walk through that with you because this is maybe 4 feet across. I don't even think it's that, but maybe 4 feet. So I think it was very reasonable. It's actually a combination of a couple rocks. If you could see, this one's silver and the rest of it isn't. I wanted another level and I had run out of shelves, so I just grabbed a shelf that was extra and added that on. And I made this extra tall right here because, as you can see, these are just sprouting and they'll get up to probably, you know, here, and then I will have to pull them out. And then what happens is they come and they graduate and they come and sit down on the tub that I use for my wormies. So this is where I vermicompost. This was a tray that I did some sprouting in, and I think it got too hot. So that's something to keep in mind. That's why I say sometimes you've got to either pull them down, either like that's what happened here. I noticed that they were getting too dried out just with the lights, because the lights do really heat up. And then, so I was pulling them down a level. They would still get light, and they could still sprout, but not all of them made it. So, and you can see if you've got hard water, that's going to impact that. So there's different things to consider that have nothing to do with your setup, right? They have everything to do with what are your basics? What is the quality of your water? You just have to find the best way for your particular setup. But I had the sugarcane growing in here, and they were, I don't know, 2 feet tall, sitting on this in like the bottom of one of these so that it wouldn't leak out, because they will still drain. So those are things. I know it looks like a mess, but really it's kind of an organized mess. I have places for everything. And this is how I grow indoors. So some of these I will start indoors, like this whole tray is starting indoors. And then in the spring, well, except for the cauliflower, but in the spring that will go outside. Some of it is probably never going to go outside, like the arugula, and there's lettuce back here that you can't really see. There's a different kind of lettuce right here. I really would rather just grow them in here and not try to find a place for them to grow outside, because it's going to be too, well, I think the lettuces will be fine, but the bush beans, I have to find out if they are okay to go outside or not. I think they are, but I need to double check that. I think they'd be fine growing in here. Probably not staying up here. They'd go down to sit on top of the wormies. The other thing I want to point out is I always keep gloves. I always keep some kind of gloves, because you don't want to pass things on. So if you have something that's store-bought and you bring it into your garden or to mingle with other things, you want to make sure you're not passing on a bacteria or some other infection from one plant to another. You know, maybe I bought bush beans from Home Depot or someplace like that. And then I came in and I was, you know, trying to handle my bush beans. I really try to keep my hands clean. Now, you know, I don't go crazy with it. I try to be as clean as possible. It's not like some other things. Everything is going to go in the dirt, but you do try and make sure that you limit any kind of diseases and stuff. So I hope that was helpful. I really wanted to encourage people that don't have a lot of space or that need to grow indoors. I want to encourage you that it's possible. You don't need to have like a whole greenhouse or anything like that. This is a spare room. I could just as easily have put this in my kitchen, like a baker's rack. I could do that and still have enough to be able to start, you know, sprouting my vegetables for the spring, or just start getting them growing like indoors. Okay. All right. Happy growing.